Hi everyone, this is Lowell, and I'm doing a second video on the what's known as the Nashville number system, or the number system in terms of training people how to listen to harmonic progressions. And it's really helpful to train a band that wants to improvise and play most songs that are popular that you hear on the radio or on various maybe in church. Songs for church that you want to use that comes in handy if you want to improvise. And the first video that we talked about intervals, understanding your intervals. And so just to, I guess, review quickly the intervals of the minor second, minor third, perfect fourth, augmented fourth, or diminished fifth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, perfect octave. So the most important aspects of those intervals that relate to learning how to use the number system is really it's the minor and major thirds. And so in order to create chords, what you do is you stack thirds. And so just to review, a minor third consists of 3 half steps. There's 1, 2, 3. And so you have, that's a minor third. And then a major third consists of 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So that's the major third, this is the minor third. And so what is interesting is how harmony is made is by stacking thirds. And so you can stack 2 minor thirds on top of each other, which would be this. So there's 1, 2, 3 half steps, and then 1, 2, 3 half steps. And so that when you have a minor third and a minor third stacked on each other, then that's called a diminished triad. That's the smallest version of a triad, and the word triad means, obviously, tri meaning 3. And so you have 3 notes that create your triad. And so then the next larger triad would be minor. And so you have a minor third on bottom and a major third on top. And that sounds like this. And then the next one is a major third on bottom and a minor third on top. Okay, and that's your major triad. And then the last one, or the fourth one, is a major third on bottom and a major third on top. And that's called augmented. Now, how this comes in handy to understand what I just told you is that in a major scale, and then we talked about yesterday, or in the previous video, about the difference between a chromatic scale and a diatonic scale. And most scales that we hear in pop music and Western culture is built on essentially 2 scales. One is major and one is minor, and I'm going to be talking about major today. And it's important as a musician, and obviously if you're wanting to learn the number system, you're a musician, it's important that you rely on your ear to tell you what does a major scale sound like. And so I'm using C major with no sharps, no flats, just to illustrate, but this can be done in all 12 keys. So what you understand with C major, you can do that in any of the 12 keys that are available. So here's what a major scale sounds like. Right? So that's common. But what you may not understand about a major scale is that it consists of a variety of different kinds of intervals. And we talked about the interval of a minor second and the interval of a major second. And that's a half step and a whole step. So in a major scale, you have from the first note to the second note, we have a whole step and then from from that note to the next note is a whole step. And then from that note to the next note is a half step. And then whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So notice that there are two places that there are half steps. And if we put a number to each one of these notes in a major scale, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. And we find that we have half steps in between the numbers 3 and 4 and the numbers 7 and 8. Everything else is whole steps. And so in every major scale, in whatever key, it's always going to be that. It's going to be a half step between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. And that's something you probably want to commit to memory, is that there's major seconds everywhere except between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So because you have this kind of non-congruent spacing with the major scale, when you stack triads, it causes the relationships of the types of triads that you're making to have different properties as you go up the scale. So I'm going to take those same numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to use all the notes that are in that major scale, the scale of C major, and I'm going to let the intervals of the major scale create the kind of triads that are available. And so the first triad, starting on number 1, is a major triad. And then the next triad, starting on number 2, using the notes of a C major scale with those intervallic differences between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, it ends up creating 2, which is minor. It's a minor triad. And then 3 is a minor triad. 4 is a major triad. 5 is a major triad. 6 is a minor triad. 7 is a diminished triad. All right, and so there we have essentially the foundations for understanding the number system. And so in most pop music, you really don't use number 7. Now, I know that there's some use of it in terms of using the number system, and they've kind of changed the meaning of number 7 a little bit. But just to kind of basically talk about the number system, you really can take away 7. It doesn't really serve much purpose. Again, there's another mindset about that, but I'm trying to boil this down to simplicity. And so really you have six triads you can work with in any song. And the first set of triads are major triads, and that's 1, 4, and 5. So 1, 4, 5. And then there's 2. And the next set are minor triads. So that'd be 2, 3, and 6. So I want just to basically give you that framework of understanding how triads are formed in a key and how it relates to the number on the major scale. And so again, just to rehash, you have major, 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, and 6 is minor. And I'm not going to deal with 7. So you have 3 major triads and 3 minor triads. And so the major ones, if you play them in sequence, is probably the most common chord progression that we all have heard forever. And that's 1, 4, 5, 1. So these are your major triads. 1, 4, 5, 1. Very common. And then normally triads function within a type of what we call circle of fifths, within the key. And that's a whole nother discussion. But just so that you understand how all of this can turn into a chord progression, a common chord progression based upon the circle of fifths sounds something like this: 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. This is a very common chord progression. And that's what I just showed you. Is if you understand the first video and this second video, you've pretty much gotten about 80% of the Nashville number system. And what you want to do is you want to train your ear. It's not just about understanding the theory of it, but it's understanding how to listen for what are the chords that are functioning in that key in the way that we just talked about. And so the first thing you want to do is like, well, what key am I in? That's your home base. That's gives you the foundation for understanding what the other numbers are going to do. And so what is the key? And then start listening, maybe listen to the radio, listen to some songs, and start asking yourself, does that sound like a major chord or does it sound like a minor chord? So if it sounds like a major chord, then you have 3 options. If it sounds like a minor chord, then you have 3 options. And you can begin to train your ear just by starting with that question. Does this sound major or does it sound minor? If it's major, then it could be a 1 or a 4 or a 5. Or does it sound minor? Then it could be a 2, a 3, or a 6. And eventually you'll start to hear what a 4 chord sounds like in that key. Eventually you'll start to perceive what does a 6 chord sound like in that key. And that's the kind of the basis of improvisation. Once you know what key you're in, then you can basically by ear determine what pillar of chord that you're on.